Shall see. It's being live streamed. Got it. Check here real quick, make sure we're here. We are here. We are here. Okay, we are here with Women on the Rise. I'm Kim Bumberger. Here we talk with inspiring, empowered women who are dreaming new dreams, creating their legacies, and building their empires. And today I have the great pleasure of speaking with my friend Laura Williams. Laura was one of our 50 over 50 participants, and I got to get to know her through that time. And I just learned a lot about her. Laura has spent her entire career in the finance industry, and she served as vice president, operations manager for a large traditional brokerage firm here in Central and Northern Florida. And now she is the marketing director of WealthWave. She helps families to understand money and plan for their financial future. So I just want to welcome you, Laura. So happy to have you here today. And for the people who maybe, it's hard for me always to tell who is here online, but if you are here, if you could just comment and let us know you're here. If you have questions throughout this, feel free to drop them in and we will see them and Laura can respond in real time to you. And if not, go ahead and drop them in. Laura is a member of this group as well, and she would be happy to reach back out to you with information. So with all of that, Laura, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Kim. I appreciate you having me here.
Yay.
Hopefully we can help some people.
Yes, that is always the goal, right? We are always here to inspire, empower, and help women. So, yeah, talk to me about all the things. How did you get involved with WealthWave? What is WealthWave? Tell us all of it.
Well, like you said, I was in the been in the financial industry my whole career. And again, it's in the traditional, brokerage firm environment. Where everybody pretty much is the older white man behind the desk, right, doing the financial advising.
Yes.
And so I left that world in 2019, at the very end of 2019. And then, of course, 2020 was a little bit of a challenge. So I just had some time off, basically. I took about 10 months off. And then joined WealthWave. My other half is a person who established the office here in Jacksonville. So it was a pretty easy, idea about that. But the concept of what we do at WealthWave is it's the same, only different. The wirehouse world kind of caters to the people who already have money. And while we're happy to help people who already have money, and that's perfectly fine, and we can, we don't limit it to that. We were able to help, everybody else. What about the rest of us is kind of the thought process, right? And so there's a lot of people currently, especially now, struggling, with after 2020 and just all the things that have been going on with inflation. So, and they're not the people that have $1 million. So they're not at Merrill Lynch or UBS or whatever, right? So we're helping those people. We truly help families. So we'll take the person who's, 25 and just starting out and trying to, figure out what they're supposed to do with their money, and start from an education standpoint, teach them about how money works.
I love that, because I think that that's not something that we're really taught in school. It's something that we can be really intimidated by. And women, to your point, women can really often, sometimes can defer that to the man who knows how to do all the things money. And
that's true, that we do tend to defer to the man, and the fallacy is that he knows. Just because he's a man doesn't mean he really knows.
No, but sometimes they can sound really convincing.
They can, and we trust them. And then they, when we go to the advisor, if the woman goes to the meeting, and she should, the advisor typically will talk to the man. And so, if the woman has a question, it's almost like, well, you didn't need to know that kind of thing. And that happens. And it's, it's because it's traditionally a man's world. And
Sure.
so we have broken down that barrier. WealthWave has more women advisors 7 years in a row than any other company. And so we're able to truly relate to other women and what they might be going through. And to your point, 23 out of 50 states, only 23 out of 50 states require high school students to take a personal finance course to be able to graduate. So that, I mean,
Wow.
they all take sex education. I think they figured that out on their own. And broadcast journalism and other things, but the financial piece of it's really left out. And as a result of that, there's 4.5 billion people around the world who are considered financially illiterate. And
Wow.
37% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency. And that's a sad
What was that
situation.
percentage again? How many? What was the
37% of
Oh,
Americans.
that is terrifying.
It is terrifying. It's worse probably now than it's been because of inflation and the cost of mortgages and insurance and all those things that take your money. So it's a tough situation. It's the number one really problem in America financially is people just
Wow.
don't know how money works.
So I know you start with families, and it's great if you can get them even right out of high school or even before. I've seen things about what you can do even with babies when you have a new baby and to start planning for their financial futures.
Mhm.
We are in a group of women who are at least 40 and over here. And can you speak to those of us who may not have done a great job planning in the past? And then how late is it too late? We say it's not too late to dream new dreams. And I know ideally it's better if you start early, but if you're getting a late start to this financial game, what would you advise women to do?
Start. It's just really important to start. And the very first step, we kind of use a 7 money milestones kind of methodology when we do our education. And the very first step in your money milestones is the education piece. It's learning about money. It's making sure you feel comfortable. You understand, the basic concepts, the compounding of interest, the time value of money, to your point, starting early if you can. And the rule of 72, and just getting comfortable with money concepts, paying attention to all of those things and applying them to your life. And we help, obviously along the way to help apply those. So yeah, that's the biggest piece, is just learning about it and then and taking the first steps. I mean, if you decide it's too late and you don't start, where are you going to be? We always refer to, when you're in your 80s, you don't want to be eating cat food, right? So you want to be taking the steps,
True.
no matter when it is,
Right.
to start. Even if it's $100 a month you can save, it's better than not having anything, right? And then we work with people to help that grow.
Awesome. Okay. And so you said you do help people. Do you offer classes? Like, how does that work? Or do you just do one-to-one, or you do classes with more than one? Yeah, tell us about that.
We do both. We do, obviously one-on-one sessions, perfectly fine. We talk to people about their individual goals and dreams and where they are right now. We kind of use it kind of like GPS on the phone, where we kind of figure out where you are now, kind of where you want to be, because everybody's idea of retirement is different. So, somebody might, when we get the clients that'll be kind of flippant and they'll go, well, I want to be rich. Well, okay, what does that mean to you? Right? Because rich to somebody might be a really nice small home on a lake, and somebody else is rich is they have a Ferrari in the driveway of a mansion, right? So it's just, what does your rich look like? And we don't belittle them, because whatever that is, they think they're being funny, but I don't take it funny, because that's what you want. Let's figure that out, right? And we can decide whether or not it's realistic for them to get to their dream. But that's our goal, is to get them to what their idea of a comfortable retirement looks like. And then we also do classes. We do classes pretty much anywhere. We go into businesses. It's a great value add for a small business owner to have us come in and teach their employees about money. If they learn about money and they start a process, they tend to be better employees. They appreciate their place of employment because they're taking an interest in them. And they're also not stressed out about where's their next money coming from, because now they've got a plan. We teach in schools, we teach in churches, women's groups. We're part of the deferred comp plan for the city of Atlanta. So we're teaching how money works to all the employees of the city of Atlanta. So
Wow,
it's a big
big
task,
deal.
but it's a big deal. We just got an agreement with the city of Warner Robins, Georgia, where we're going to be teaching classes to all the employees of the city of Warner Robins. So it's a really rewarding thing, because some of the people we teach and they talk to a financial advisor, and that's fine with us. Go talk to someone else if you've already got someone. If you don't, we're happy to help you. But the idea is to just make sure that people understand that they do have something that they can start doing now, whenever now is.
Awesome. Well, tell me about the books. So I see you have How Money Works and then How Money Works for Women. Can you tell us a little bit about what they are and how the one for women differs from your main one? And I say, stop being a sucker.
Stop being a sucker. Yeah, it's kind of a funny tagline. It was basically to get the attention of people, because the idea being that if you don't know how money works, then people can take advantage of you, and so you're that sucker, right? You don't want to be a sucker. And then the little comedy joke about that is that when you go into a bank and you go up to the counter, and everybody's real nice and happy to see you, and there's a bowl of lollipops right on the counter. And what kind of lollipops are they?
They're suckers.
They're dum-dums.
Oh, okay. Well, so I'm old, and so I remember it used to be the suckers, the green one like you had on there with the looped stem, or dum-dums. You're right.
They're dum-dums. Well, and so the banks are trying to tell you give you a hint ahead of time that you don't want to put your money. Nobody ever got rich by putting their money in a savings account, right? So they're trying to give you a hint about that. But so it's there on the counter. But the same company that makes dum-dums also makes Smarties. So we're trying to change that over to make people smart about their money.
I love that. That's fun.
I know it is funny. But one of the things, the reason why that is comical in a way, it's not really, is because there's something called the rule of 72, and it tells you how many years it takes for your money to double. So if you're at 1%, it takes 72 divided by 1 is 72 years to double, right? And so the average interest rate that a bank account is getting you, a savings account, it's gone up. Actually, it's quite a bit higher than it was a couple of years ago, but now it's 0.42%, not even 1%.
Wow.
So it takes over 700 years for $1 to become $2 if you leave it in the bank.
Wow.
Right. So the better your interest rate, the less time it takes your money to double. So even if you go to 3%, it only takes 24 years to double. And of course, if you can get 9%, it's only 8 years to double. So you really want to think about where's your money, and is it working for you?
That's amazing. I've never heard that before. That's fascinating, though.
It truly is. That was a big thing for me. I had never heard the rule of 72, having been in the financial industry my whole life. And that was like, wow.
Well, I love the way that you broke it down, and it made it so easy to understand. So that makes me feel like if you speak with people that we would be able to totally understand exactly what you're saying, and you would be able to speak it in my language, which is amazing.
Absolutely. And that's the way the book's written. The first part of the How Money Works book is 3 money concepts, which is the time value of money, compounding of interest, and the rule of 72. And then the rest of the book goes through those 7 money milestones. So it's a really comprehensive. It's written on an 8th grade level, so that it's not difficult to read. It's got characters, and it's a fun kind of read. They kind of make you laugh, and you get to know the characters through the book. So it takes the daunting, oh my gosh, it's a finance book thing out and makes it into a fun, understandable read.
Okay.
So
what are
excellent.
the 7 milestones?
They are, the first one being the financial education.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 is proper protection, which has to do with your life insurances. We explain all the different kinds of life insurance because everybody doesn't always know, and different ways you can use them. The importance of an emergency fund, debt management. So we talk to people about their student loans and about their credit card debt. Just for an aside, back to the rule of 72, if you think about it, taking your money at the bank 171 years to double when it's in your savings account, the average credit card interest rate is around 20%, some probably more. It only takes the credit card debt to double. It takes the credit card debt to double every 3.6 years.
Wow.
So our money's doubling 171 years. There's in 3.6.
That's shocking when you put it that way, but it's
It
so
is
true. I
shocking.
mean, we know credit card debt is not good debt, but
Not good
yeah,
debt.
yeah.
But we talk about cash flow, making sure that, just learning how to have cash flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Building wealth and then protecting wealth, which is having an estate plan and making sure that your assets go where you want them to go at the end of the day.
Oh, that's great. And then you just did, because I know we had announced it in the group, and I think a couple, at least people in our group, were going to go back in July. I think you did the book launch for How Money Works for Women. So tell us about that, because we talked about it when we had a phone conversation about the author and who came and all of that. And then why is there a different kind of book that's geared specifically to women?
Right. Well, the money concepts are the same. I mean, there's still, the rule of 72, whether you're a man or a woman, doesn't make a difference. But lots of times women find themselves in different situations than men. And so, and different needs along the way. So this book has 9 characters. Again, we have some of the same characters and we've added some. And each character is in a different decade of life. So there's Zoe, who is 19, and she's trying to figure out student loans and what major to major in and to be able to pay back her student loans afterwards. Do you know what the most popular major is, by the way, for college?
No.
Undecided. So people are taking out student loans and they don't even know why they're going to college. So
oh my goodness.
That's a pretty big deal. The next character is Maria. She's 27 and she is planning a wedding. So she's talking about, how to be thrifty in planning her wedding, and also talking about how are they going to handle their money jointly after their marriage. So that's a really good concept. And she's also starting a business. She's a CPA and starting a business. So we have in the book, there's actually a checklist on starting a business and the things that you need to do in the beginning to set up your business. Val is she's 31, is a social media influencer. She had been had a job, but she quit her job and to stay at home because she has a special needs child. And there's just a whole world of different planning that has to go into a special needs child situation. Lots of times parents of special needs children don't plan. They don't plan, I guess is the answer, because they're just focused on the well-being of the day-to-day care of the child. Because depending on what the situation is with the child, it can be a huge, I hate to say burden, but it's a huge issue.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, and the planning around that is so important. Dana's 42. She's a hospital director, and she's trying to plan for college and for her kids, and also for retirement for herself. There's Sarah, who's a real estate agent, and she's a victim of domestic violence. And that's a topic that lots of people don't really touch on, but it's important. There's different planning that goes on after you get out of that situation, right? And So we talk about what are the red flags, what should you be looking for? And then, once you are able to actually leave the situation, women don't come out of those situations with much, right? Their monies have been controlled by the man in this case. And so they come out and they've got to start completely over. And
how
in this
old is
case,
Sarah?
she's 49.
Okay.
So we really, we really have to, think about that situation completely differently. May is 56. She's a history professor. She's the person that has the sandwich generation. Her grown son is come back to live at home with her to save for his own retirement, or I guess to be able to buy a house. And her elderly father has come to live with her. So she's caring for both ends of that and trying to take care of herself and make sure that she also has retirement funds, right? So again, it's a woman's situation. Men aren't usually the ones that end up as that caregiver. Hope is 62. She was planning to retire. She was a hospital administrator. And all of a sudden her husband came and said, I want a divorce. So she's 62 and, figuring out what does that look like to save for retirement now by herself. Plans are different. And we also have checklists in there too for, what do you do after the divorce? What are those steps that you need to be taking to be able to help move yourself forward? Fatima is 73. She was a stay-at-home mom her whole life, and her husband passed away. So she's finding herself alone in her 70s. And doesn't have a clue how to take care of money. She's never had to. Her husband took care of it. She's never written a check. So we've got checklists for her too. So what do you do and how do you make that work? And then Jan is our final character. Jan is 86. She's modeled after someone that we know. And she's nailed it. She and her husband started out with the 7 money milestones back in, when they just got married, and they stuck with it. I'm going to read a statistic. She's gone through in her life, and let's see if I can get it real quick because it's really amazing. All the ups and downs of the market. She's gone through 13 bear markets, 13 bull markets, 12 recessions, 6 periods of high inflation, the Great Recession of 2008 and 2009, and the longest bull run market from 2009 to 2020. But she stuck with the plan and she kept with the money milestones all along the way, even though there was the ups and downs of the market. And now she's nailed it. She's living in a comfortable environment, house, nothing big, extravagant, but she's on her own and she socializes and gets out, and she's comfortable in her retirement because she's followed those money milestones the whole time.
Makes me wish we could all be Jans.
Well, that's kind of the goal,
and if we can start sooner, that would help us to get there, later when we are Jans in her shoes.
Right.
But I've seen I've every person that you've described, I've seen either myself or other people in that. And I know that when you're going through crisis in your life, whether it's with, disability, in fact, somebody I know adopted 2 children who had gone through trauma, and just then, her whole life was turned upside down. It's like money is the last thing that she could think of, and it's like anytime that we hit those places in life, it's overwhelming. And so to have, and through counseling and everything that it takes to get through a crisis, I have never seen money management be part of that. Right. Which hearing you say this now, it's like, that seems to be a no-brainer, that would be something that as we face a crisis, that should be one of the first things that we take stock of, because so many other things hinge on that. So this is so
especially
valuable.
If you have kids, you're planning for not only your own future, but if you have kids, and there's a whole lot of things that come into play as those crises come along through your life. And we like to think it all goes smoothly, but it doesn't.
Right. So how does a woman deal with like the overwhelm and so it's a huge block, right? Money blocks are real anyways for women and for everybody. I think that we all have certain money blocks in our life and beliefs about money, but how do you help a woman, kind of break through that? And, because we want to put our head in the sand because it's like, oh my gosh, this is one more thing. I just can't deal with this one more thing.
Right, exactly. And we really encourage women to talk about money. You talk about your vacation, you talk about your kids, you talk about whatever. But women, when they're together, don't very often talk about money. And so if women are more comfortable speaking about it, then they not only can kind of learn from each other, but it becomes something that's a positive topic, right? And you get people that say, wow, I really need to know more about that, as opposed to they've never even given it a thought.
Right.
Which is why we do the education piece and why we do so many classes, because we really open the doors for somebody to come in and ask the questions. We don't there's no sales. I mean, it's just about, if you have a question, come ask me and I'll help you do it. If there's something I can do to help you, I absolutely will. And it changes generationally. If we can teach women, everybody really, but if we can teach women how money works, they're going to teach their kids, so that it's going to break that cycle of financial illiteracy. So it's a legacy that you're end up leaving for the next generations, along with the fact that you're going to be able to do better with your own money, and then actually leave a financial legacy perhaps to your children as well. But giving them that gift of the financial literacy is so important.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is incredibly valuable, Laura, what you are doing and the difference that you are making, not only with individual people that you work with, but just shifting and having that mindset shift and normalizing talking about money, especially for women, because you're right, men, they have their golf games and they're slapping each other on the back and they're talking about their financial deals and their money. And women, I mean, we were just grown up to believe it wasn't even polite to talk about money.
Exactly. Right. So, but it really is more important than ever
For
for
sure.
women to know about it, talk about it, and feel comfortable understanding it. Just a little statistic, couple things. One is that it's really important because here's the thing: 80% of men die married. 80% of women die single. So when your husband dies, you're going to be by yourself. So if you don't know how money works, you're going to be, the character in the book who's 73 and has no clue.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty telling. And also, there's 70% of women, if they're after a divorce or being widowed, change their financial advisor. So they've been going to this financial advisor with their husband, if they go, because they should. But after a divorce or a death, they don't stay with that same person, and they don't. Typically, it's a man. It's usually, like I said, it's the old white guy behind the desk, and so we're able to have them feel more comfortable coming to talk to another woman about what their situation might be. We're able to relate better, right? Because we're also, and a lot of them have been in that situation. I was divorced at one point, and so I understand what it feels like, and I understand the red flags of financial abuse. I mean, my husband wasn't malicious, but it was still like, I kind of was like, wow, those were things that were going on, and I had my head in the sand. Even though I was in the financial industry, I was one of those people that didn't pay attention either. And so I really understand how important it is for women to just, you don't have to, you could still defer the final decision to the man, but you should be at the meetings and you should understand what it is that's going on. And if that person doesn't answer your question, you need to find another person.
Oh, that's amazing. Yes, so good. Such great advice. So I guess the last question I have for you is, how do we get our hands on these books? How do we, if somebody wanted to set up a class in their company or just even to get a group of women together to do this, how do we reach out to you to make that happen?
You can email me at wealthwave.com/Laura Williams.
Okay. And we'll put all of that. I'll have you get off, just post that in the comments for us.
And I'm happy to help set up a class, or we could do a one-on-one conversation, however you want to do it. If you're interested in a book, I can make sure that you get a book, a copy of the book, either one or both.
Okay. I would definitely personally,
Amazon,
I would love that. No, that's amazing. Do you have any parting words for us?
Start, I guess, is the only word that, if you haven't started, start. And if you have started and you're even through the process, but you're not really sure, or you're not 100% sure you understand, give us a call. We'll talk through the whole thing. We do the education piece. So we're happy to go over what you're doing now and find out, you're doing great, and that give you that peace of mind.
Oh, that's so amazing. Well, thank you so much. I am going to go ahead and end this on Facebook, and I'll hang out to talk with you for another minute. We have had a couple of people join us, it looks like, this morning, but no questions are in the chat. Ladies who are here, if you have a question that you want to post, we can go ahead and answer that. I'm looking, but I don't see anything. So just anybody who does come and watch the replay of this, excuse me, if you watch the replay and have questions for Laura, want to reach out to her, then just drop your questions in. She is one of our wise women on the rise, and she is here to help you. So thank you so much for being here, and I'm going to go ahead and sign this off now. Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend.